Destination for the day's best sports shows. Tune in for the biggest personalities on the biggest stories, and don't miss us on The Herd weekdays at 12 Eastern. Catch it all right here Monday through Friday on FS1.
Vicks Sinex nasal spray. It's cold season. Works up to 12 hours. Use as directed. Don't use that thing all day. It'll burn. It's really good, though, if you use it as directed. By the way, a guy came up to me yesterday, and he said, who do you got on the games this weekend? I said, I'm not betting any of them. He's like, you don't want juice? And I'm like, no, I just bet the games I think I can win. Like, why does everybody need, like, I can just watch football. Why do I need to bet everything?
I don't think we have enough time to explain this, but gambling can become an issue for some people.
Yeah, but could you watch football without gambling?
Yes, I do it every week. I don't gamble on sports.
Yeah, and I don't bet more than 20, 30 grand a game.
I have no problem with gambling, obviously. I just personally don't enjoy the feeling of losing, and it doesn't overwhelm the feeling of winning for me. So it serves me no purpose.
I think there's a lot of people like they need like fantasy or gambling. It's not I can just watch football games and enjoy. I sit there every Sunday and I just sit there for 9 hours on my butt and watch the games with my dog, and it's just great. That's all I do. I just sit there and watch the games.
Well, also I think this weekend particularly, you keep saying you don't really have a lot of conviction about any of your.
No, I just want to watch. If you're telling me who listen, I like Andrew Luck and I like Russell Wilson, and I'd like to see the Chargers. I mean, the Ravens have had a lot of success. The Chargers don't have any historic, success. And then Philadelphia Bears, it'd probably be better if the Bears won because I think, Philadelphia won last year. If you're telling me who would be better for the league.
You just want everything to be fair. Everybody gets a chance.
Listen, I work at Fox. We have the NFC. So if you're asking me who would win, Chicago and Dallas would be good for us because the Cowboys are the number one team in the league, and Chicago's a huge city that gets.
I would argue that the Eagles and Cowboys would be better.
I don't know. I think
they
the Bears
have more of a rivalry.
Bears are right in the middle of the country. It's a bigger city than Philadelphia. Have more fans. You're asking me. Where is Greg Jennings coming out? I will say this about Dallas, and I'm excited for Jason McIntyre too. What if? I mean, just throw this out there. I don't think it's going to happen. What if Dallas gets smoked? What if the offense can't do anything? What if it's like 23-6? And that Dak Prescott and the Cowboys cannot move the football against Seattle, which, by the way, Pete Carroll's a great defensive coach. Bobby Wagner's as good a football player on the defensive side outside of Khalil Mack in the league. What if Dak just lays a complete egg?
Well, if you're a Cowboys fan and you're thinking long term,
it's not the worst thing in the world.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
But fan and fanatic, obviously you're not going to, you would rather them win, obviously, but it could be better because then you can argue that while Dak Prescott is great for the regular season, he hasn't had any success in the postseason, and then maybe it can be more manageable with the contract. But
yeah, the other thing about this weekend is that generally speaking, when you go into the NFL, and I think people forget this, sometimes if you're a mobile quarterback, just think about this. If you're a mobile quarterback and you're a coaching staff, you may not want to run your mobile quarterback too much in the regular season, right? Because you don't want to get him hurt for the next game. But if I have Deshaun Watson, I have Russell Wilson, I have Lamar Jackson, there is no next week. I was just thinking about that. If I've got a mobile quarterback, I don't want him running in the regular season very minimally. But there is no, I'm trying to win a game.
No, I don't think you coach in the playoffs the same way that you coach during the regular season. Doing that is what gets you beat.
I think you coach like if I'm Houston,
it's elimination game.
I can't worry about Deshaun Watson getting hurt scrambling.
No.
I need Deshaun Watson to scramble. I can't worry about Lamar Jackson. I would run Lamar Jackson 30 times if it won the football game against the Chargers.
Well, Lamar Jackson should be running because that's what he's a rookie, and that's what's gotten them here.
Right.
So they should not change up the game plan with Lamar Jackson at this point.
All right. Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
So there's a lot of talk right now about who deserves to be crowned this year's MVP for the NFL. In all likelihood, it'll be Patrick Mahomes or Drew Brees. I think both of us feel like it's going to be Patrick Mahomes. But one name that's being mentioned is Aaron Donald, who finished the season with 20.5 sacks, most ever for a defensive tackle. And Sam Farmer of the LA Times tweeted some support for Donald as MVP, and J.J. Watt chimed in with his own take on the award. He responded to Sam Farmer's tweets, which said, "Problems wrapping your head around Aaron Donald as MVP. Tape a Rams game and watch him for only a half. Most relentless and disruptive player in at least a decade. Otherwise, just rename it MVQB," which probably could do. Well, anyway, he responded, see 2014, it's always been an offensive award, or 2012.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is not anti-defense. It is pro. What matters more, if a quarterback's touching the ball 74 times a game, then he's the most valuable player. Like, don't take it personally, everybody, but there's a reason why the offensive guys win it. They simply mean more. J.J. Watt in his prime. Remember those 2-3 year period where he was the Khalil Mack of the sport? His best games, they had a sub 500 record. Like if Tom Brady, if I said to you, is 38 of 40, New England wins by blowout. If I said J.J. Watt has 2 sacks, a fumble recovery, and a touchdown, Colts could still win by 20.
Well, yeah. I mean, 2014 was a historic season for Watt. He had 20.5 sacks, an 80-yard pick six, 4 forced fumbles, 5 fumble recoveries, including 1 for a score, and he had 3 receiving touchdowns. So I'm with you, though. I bet defensive players don't want to hear that. And honestly, Aaron Donald should be in the conversation, but I would argue that Khalil Mack has had more of an impact overall on his team.
So would I.
So,
Aaron Donald, the Rams don't play great defense. At least if you're going to be...
He's an incredible player. He's a huge part of that defense. But nobody thinks of the Rams as like defensive-driven team.
He's a defensive tackle, as John just said in my ear, and they're bad against the run. That'd be like being the best corner in the league, and your team is 31st in pass defense. Right. At some point, you have to elevate your unit to be an MVP.
Alan Page won it in 71 as a defensive tackle. Obviously, that. LT in 86, and a kicker, Mark Mosley, won in 82. Those are the only 3 that haven't been offensive players that have ever won it. And, I mean, Lawrence Taylor being the last one to win it makes sense. Transformed sport. So unless you're on that level, I don't know how in this day's NFL a defensive player is ever going to win it. So the Cowboys were nearly unbeatable at home this season. They went 7-1, and the only loss came to the Titans in Week 9. They'll have a chance to make it 8-1 this Saturday when they host Seahawks in the NFC wildcard round.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Pete Carroll was talking about it, and he pointed out some features that are unique to Cowboys Stadium.
I think the scoreboard may get in the way of the sound, so it bounces back at you or something. I don't know. It's a real glitzy place, when you come out of a football locker room ready to play football, and you go into a nightclub. It's kind of like we're in the club. No, wait a minute. You got to play ball, and then you come back to the club, and they're all. Anyway, it's unusual. Yeah. And then they're right with you too. Those people that are sitting behind you, I don't know how they see the game. It doesn't look like they care. They're having such a good time. But, it's an unusual place.
Yeah, it is. They weren't very good at the Cowboys were lousy the first 2 years of the stadium. They were lousy at home. I think they were
because it's such
spacious.
A tremendous facility. Yeah. Like you walk in and you're, no pun intended, starstruck. But I do think that their record at home is going to be reflective in this game. And that stat that Kevin Clark gave us about teams making it to the Super Bowl since 2012, all being
no team that's
home,
made the Super Bowl since 2012
has played a road game.
So it's either going to be the Bears, the Texans,
we play real stat or bull stat. That's crazy.
That's a nutty stat.
I feel like as talking about gambling, that's something you should pay attention to.
Also, home field advantage in the playoffs means more because the weather in the playoffs, half these places is garbage. So certain teams, Chicago's built to play in this kind of weather. So playoff advantage matters because playoff weather is formidable.
Right. So finally, last night's game with the Rockets and the Warriors was a thriller, really fun to watch. James Harden hit an incredible three-pointer, was also fouled on it, on a double team to win the game for Houston in overtime, 135-134. He's averaging 42 points per game since Chris Paul's latest hamstring injury. They are playing amazing. I really feel like they've turned the corner.
Yeah.
And the refs in last night's game, the refs are always a conversation in any Houston game because obviously everyone is always talking about how James Harden is refereed. But at the end of the game here, they missed this call with Kevin Durant. If you haven't seen it, it might be the most egregious missed call in the history of the NBA.
Look at this.
It's ice skating out of bounds. It is so unbelievable. Like, there's a ref literally right there. The ball might have hit the ref in the head. Like,
look how tall Kevin Durant is compared to the fans. Like, people don't understand how giant NBA players are. Look at how look how big Kevin Durant is compared to the average person. When you go to an NBA game, like I've gone to baseball games and NFL games, and I think, Kirk Cousins is as big as me. You go to an NBA game, you forget that Kevin Durant's a 7-foot-tall guy who just happens to be the second best shooter in the sport.
And sometimes you forget that because they're all very tall.
Yeah.
There's like, so that guy's like really short. Oh no, he's 6'5".
Steve Nash works out at my club. So I see Steve Nash twice a month. He's taller than me. Steve Nash during an NBA game looks like a shrimp. And he's taller than me, and I'm the tallest guy on my staff.
That should speak more to how incredible Kevin Durant is as a shooter, because he is a giant.
Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.